What do the betting markets take into account specifically on the Senate that you're not?
They're taking into account momentum, right? So the models that we have, they are a point in time, and the minute they're out, they're old, and we're going to release a new one tomorrow and a new one the next day. What the betting markets are looking at, they're looking at what happened over the last 72 hours and what they think is going to happen over the next 72 hours. And guess what? In the last 3 days, we've had some really good polls for Republican Senate candidates in Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Nevada, and that's where the momentum has really carried over and why you see the betting markets at 60-65%.
You think about this, you got to be careful in media and in politics because the buzz you hear might just be a chainsaw. I remember election night 2020, there were a few hours when the betting market swung to Donald Trump's side, 80-85% all of a sudden as the red mirage happened. Is that what these polls are indicating right now, or is there reasons to think that the betting markets are onto something this time?
I think the betting markets are onto something. If we go back to 2020, what happened there was, Decision Desk HQ called Florida for President Trump at 8:15 Eastern. And when President Trump won Florida at 8:15 Eastern, he had a 50-50 shot to win the presidency. So the betting markets responded. And so this cycle is a little bit different. We're looking at states like Georgia, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona. And if the Republicans pick up Georgia and Pennsylvania, they're north of 80% certain to win the election. So that's what the betting markets are picking up. They're picking up on polling out of Pennsylvania that looks good for Mehmet Oz and polling out of Georgia that looks like Warnock's giving up some space.
If all of a sudden on election night, you and I are here and the momentum has shifted, or at least the results of the momentum has shifted. Is one Democratic strategy was trying to pitch me on Wisconsin that we're undercounting single women in their 20s and 30s who have registered to vote and the like. Why will we have gotten it wrong?
We will have gotten it wrong because not enough public polling. That's one thing that we don't have this cycle that we had back in 2018 and 2020. At this point in the cycle, there were 100 more public polls than there are today. And not just partisan polls from campaigns, which are not as useful as some of the nonpartisan ones we see from news outlets. Quite a bit of those are not there. One race to look, or go ahead.
We started this, and you make a great point about public polls, because oftentimes the bettors have access to private polling as well. So they have a little bit different look at the race than you and I do, as much as we get pitched private polling by the campaigns. How much money are we talking about is bet on this? And is it purely people actually trying to make money, or are these people who also have skin in the political game?
No, I think it's purely, I shouldn't say that. Some people have skin in the game politically, but the vast majority of people who bet on this are doing it for entertainment on websites like Betfair and PredictIt. But there's a significant amount of financial institutions that place bets on this, not like going to the Las Vegas and betting on one candidate to win. Markets move on this stuff. The foreign exchange markets, the bond markets. We saw that in 2020. You look at the Mexican peso. It was going up and down on election night based on whether or not Donald Trump was going to win or not. And so there are a lot of people placing billions of dollars of bets on the outcome. They're just not doing it they're not walking up to a casino in Vegas and doing it. They're doing it where they can place $100 million on some currency movement or something like that. That's where the real money's happening.
It's fascinating. It's why this intersection is why we wanted to have you to talk about this tonight. Control of the Senate, control of the House seems to be a foregone conclusion. Not quite. We obviously got to have an election, but
it's a safe bet the Republicans are going to win the House.
Yeah, all roads lead to Republicans controlling the House. Controlling the Senate is very different. What bets economically are being made on whether or not Republicans control the Senate? How does that affect worldwide markets that you just explained?
Well, for instance, if the Democrats win the Senate, that means the Democrats will have an opportunity to at least control judicial nominations. We'll have an opportunity to control treaties and things like that. It'll have an impact on tax policy. It'll have an impact on how President Biden negotiates with a potentially Republican House on budgetary concerns and things like that. And so that's what these financial institutions are looking at. They're like, how dysfunctional or not dysfunctional will Congress be? Are we going to have another government shutdown? Are we going to have tax cuts? Are we going to have Fed rate hikes? Are we going to have debt ceiling? All those things.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.